That's a wee bit stinky. Ground lettuce, you love to see it. Ground lettuce. Just my luck, it starts to rain as I just come out to get my kale, and I'm getting my kale for dinner. Kale for dinner, oh yeah. Looks like one of the papayas is ripening, starting to change color. Looks like we might have lost this bush. I went to the Asian supermarket and I bought some longans. Rather than throwing the seeds away, I planted them in some of these small pots. By my surprise, a lot of them have sprouted. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 longans growing, which I'm particularly pleased about because I've got one out the back that just is sickly and just doesn't seem to want to grow. So by having a few nice backups, hopefully, eventually, we'll have some delicious longans. Looks like a lily-pilly has already taken up residence in this pot. Sorry, lily-pilly, you've got a friend. Ooh, yes. Have a nice bit of the old worm tea. Avocado. Well, it may not be ground lettuce, but you know, sometimes you gotta make do. The oregano is looking a lot better now that it's had a good drink from the winter rains. Our thyme always seems to be just a little bit on the scarce side, especially in those drier months, but now that we've had some rain, it's definitely starting to come back just a little bit. Our Brazilian cherry is looking healthier than ever. It's got this really nice, shiny, glossy foliage that's an attractive feature of it being an evergreen shrub. It also has particularly tasty, sweet, but a little bit tangy ribbed fruits that turn red when they're ripe. Whilst we haven't quite gotten to the point of getting those fruits, considering how much this has grown in the last season, I'm excited to see whether this plant will produce the goods in no time. There are a few fragrances that you really can't beat in the garden, and I think frangipani is one of them. That sweet, intoxicating smell when you walk out in the late evening is absolutely beautiful. And it also attracts pollinators into your garden. It's particularly low maintenance and does well in our sandy soils in Perth. I potted these on from some cuttings that I got from a customer around 6 months ago, and they're doing really well. I didn't add any growth hormone. I literally just chopped them off, stuck them in 2 different types of soil. One's more dirt, just sand. The other one's more of an organic mix. And I wanted to see which one did better. At the moment, they're both doing pretty much the same. So I think that it's a very hardy tolerant plant that you can take from cuttings. So why not give it a go and enjoy those nice sweet smells in the evening. Look at this absolute beast of an ashy pear. It's the size of my thumb. Delicious. We've got a big supply of the curly and flat leaf parsley. Here we've got a hollyhock. Not entirely sure how it got in the garden, but allegedly this plant goes to 6 foot before it produces some nice looking flowers. Comfrey Bocking 14. The mulberry is getting really strong in the trunk. It's growing particularly well. It has dropped its leaves, of course. Our lemonade is just starting to flower at the end of winter. You can see now the branches have established after that brutal pruning I did. I'm going through all the seeds I've got now because I've got quite a few packets. So I'll see if there's any out of date and then start pulling out the ones that I'd like to sow for the spring. This continental parsley, it's particularly good for soups or stocks, which actually is what I'm about to use it for. I'm going to be making a nice bone broth, so I'm going to put a good handful of this in there. Nice bit of bone broth. Once again, this side garden bed is not bringing in the goods. Most of the plants have diseases, aphid attack. It's just not looking the best. This bed does not get enough sunshine, does not get enough water. Not ideal. As I'm looking for which seeds to sow in spring, I am guided somewhat by the date of the seeds. If you have a look, there's a sow by date. And for example, these spinach matador seeds are to be sown by August 2024. We're currently in August 2024, therefore I'm going to use the rest of the packet just so I know that when I get a fresh packet, I'm going to have better germination, because as they get older, the germination rates get worse. And I just really like the look of all my seeds germinating, even though I might get a few more years out of the packet. I don't have any seed raising mix right now, so I'm using Bailey's potting mix. The only trouble is that it's got a lot of big bits of bark and wood in it, so obviously you don't want that preventing the small seedling not being able to push through at its early stage of strength. Typically, I've found it still to work pretty well, and it's surprising how strong they are. They will push big bits of bark out the way. They are getting big. Wouldn't be surprised if they're close to fruiting. The parsley wheelbarrow has been very happy with the amount of rain we've had this winter. The Mizuna always seems to self-seed every year. I never plant these, but they're always everywhere. Ooh. Cauliflower. Pretty crazy. Ooh. Asparagus. I don't know if you've ever tried an olive straight off the tree, but it's pretty bitter. And that astringent flavor needs to be soaked out. So just taking an olive and cutting a slit down it and putting it in water, flushing that water once every day or a few days for a couple of weeks will get rid of most of that tart astringent flavor. And then you can add some herbs and olive oil into a jar, and it does take a while. It probably took about 6 months before the olives actually tasted good, in my opinion. So you will be waiting a while, but if you get a good full bucket of olives like I have, it takes a few hours to pick and to cut, and obviously it's a bit of time, but you're saving yourself a lot of money because you're going to have olives for a good year or two afterwards, depending on how many olives you eat. Unless you eat an entire jar of olives each day, which I don't. Choppy chop, chop, chop. You load 16 tons of olives, and what do you get? Another day older and your fingers are red.